I don't expect everyone to know or care about what's happening in New York, you know? Which is why I was surprised that the nation seems so gripped by New York City's mayoral race. Like, this, people talk about it everywhere because I think it's just feels like a beta test for something bigger. You know? In case you're not familiar with who's running, right? You have to understand who's running to understand what's happening. Eric Adams is the mayor of New York City, and Eric Adams, in case you don't know, is one of the worst people at corruption I've ever seen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, have a little mystery about you. Like, it's just, I feel like I could pay him off, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, like, one day when they make, like, his corruption is just, it's not enough, you know what I mean? If you're gonna be corrupt, go all in. He'd be having me feel bad for him. You know what I mean? You did all this corruption, that's all they gave you? You should have asked for more. I was very upset. If they ever revisit this chapter in New York mayoral history, everybody gonna be disappointed. Be like, flights? He went down for flights? Just tickets? You know what I mean? You had a dude in Illinois at least going down for gold bars. That's real corruption. That's like cartoon corruption. You know what I mean? Like, he took it back to the 50s level corruption. Break me off some gold bars, I'll get you anything you want. That's mustache twiddling, tie women to railroads corruption. That's crazy. And you over here embarrassing us as New Yorkers. This is a very rich city, and you going down for a couple flights to Turkey. Turkey! It's insane. But anyway, this dude got indicted while in office, but because he has no shame, everybody was like, he gonna step down, right? Like, he got stepped down once he's indicted. That's too embarrassing to go to work indicted. The closest thing I can imagine to, like, okay, okay, this is bad, my bad. Look, so when I was a kid, I mean, I was a little bit older, but my buddy's dad got in trouble, and he got a little time. He had to do like a year, right? But he did, one of the crimes, I still don't understand this, one of the crimes where you get to report to jail. Like, you get to report to, that's always weird, because whenever you watch Law and Order, they take you like, jail start right after usually that's jail, you know what I mean? Like, usually they take you out, I didn't do it, right? But for some reason, they told him he was guilty, but they let him, get his stuff in order, and he could report to jail. And that weekend, his son, my friend, took the car without permission and came home a little later than curfew. And clearly, his kid may be like acting out of frustration about things that are going on with his dad, but he gets home and his dad is very upset with him, and he's like, you didn't ask for permission for the car, you're supposed to be home by 10, I'm sorry, but you're grounded. And my buddy was like, no, I'm just throwing it out there, because which one of us got to go to jail on Monday? Like, it sounds like you grounded. It sounds like you really the one in trouble here. And that's kind of what it felt like with Adams. He's like, still trying to be a mayor, talk about crime and stuff. Over here talking about crime in the city. And so then you also have Curtis Sliwa. And Curtis Sliwa is the Republican running. And he's an interesting dude. He's like the head of the Guardian Angels. If you don't know what the Guardian Angels are, they're basically these people who hang out on the subway. You know the movie The Warriors? All right, it's like that, but if one of the gangs wanted to be the police. Like, all they really do is just fight black and brown people that they think are doing a crime, and sometimes lose the fight very badly because they are getting older. And Curtis Sliwa, like, I guess I could slightly see how someone like him ends up like him, because he does have a story of violence against him for every story you bring up about New York City. Like, you'll be like, hey, do you ever take the yellow cab? He's like, I was shot in the back of a yellow cab in 1986. And you're like, how has this much happened to you? But Curtis Lee was running as a Republican. And then you have Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo is a former governor. And now he is running for mayor because governor turned out so well. And then you have Zoran Mamdani. And Zoran Mamdani almost feels like a fixture of politics at the moment, because he is someone who seems to be the antidote for the thing that's been ailing the Democratic Party maybe for like 9 years. You know? This is a dude who is running on what he will do and his own policies that he believes in, and is one of the first people, Democrat or Republican, that is running without really having to say anything about Trump. He has his own ideas. He has things he wants to do for the place that he is running. He's not running on being not like Trump or closer to Trump or someone Trump will call or someone that Trump hates. He is not using Trump in his orbit. People bring him up, but he himself is saying, I want to make the buses fast and free. I want to have free child care. I want to freeze the rent for rent-stabilized homes. And I want to make sure that we hold bad landlords accountable. Things that are very specific, because that's the other thing that it feels like the Democratic Party has been missing, is a clear and concise plan for a policy, something that you can attach yourself to, that you don't really need to get in the weeds for. Because I'm not saying that Democratic senators and Democratic candidates have not had good plans. I'm just saying that once you need a graph, we are a country that doesn't like to read. It doesn't matter if it's a pie chart, it's still reading. Because one of the things that they've come after Mamdani about over and over and over again about his policies, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to do this? How do you plan to pay for it, right? And one thing that he's done very well is had a quick and simple explanation for his plans to pay for something, you know? So when they ask him about maybe the bus system or maybe more rent stabilization, he'll say, oh, we already spend this much money. So for the buses, he's like, we already generate $700 million in a bus fare. I think that would, is clearly money that we could use towards a free bus system. Also, all we have to do is raise the corporate tax rate and we'll have billions of extra dollars that could go towards childcare, billions of extra dollars that could go towards like a bus system. And then they're like, well, how do you plan to pay for it? Raising the corporate tax. Well, what will happen? If you raise the corporate tax, people will leave. Where are you raising the corporate tax to? And they'll be like, oh, I'm just raising it to the same as New Jersey. Like what they already do right there. Like they actually already do it over there. I guess you didn't know that, but it's already, I would just copy them. It wouldn't be higher than that. Like I would copy what they do over there. And I don't know, is everyone dead in New Jersey? I don't think so. I don't think everybody left. In fact, a lot of people moved there. So I think they'll be fine. But I don't think that Zoran is leading in the polls or is the Democratic candidate because of his clear and concise policy. I don't even think it's his youth. I don't even think it's because he's captured a moment. I think that he is the front runner because he, more so than anybody else, to a degree I've never seen before, is the number one. I'm telling you, the number one of all time, the number one Andrew Cuomo hater. He hates this dude. He hates this dude so much. He hates this man. He wake up and hate him. He wake up and he hate him with a smile too. You ever had somebody hate you with a smile? It makes you feel crazy. You're like, what you just said to me was foul, but you're smiling. Why are you smiling? No, he hates this dude. And look, don't get me wrong, they all hate him. Like every candidate hates Cuomo. Eric Adams hates Cuomo so much that even though he had zero chance of winning, even though he was actually campaigning, this man was like, look, I'm gonna do it better next time. And we're like, do you mean crime? Do you mean? Eric Adams, he's even, look, to his great, he is stumping with Cuomo. He's over there side by side with Cuomo and everything, probably looking for a job because he's about to be out of one. You know what I mean? Like he is out there with Cuomo, but you can tell he hates this dude. Sliwa hates him. Curtis Sliwa hates Cuomo. He hates Cuomo so much that he was actually asked by a reporter, you know, you're over here getting about 11% in the polls. Why not drop out if you don't want Zoran to win that much? Why not drop out? And clearly the people voting for you might also vote for Cuomo. And then Curtis Sliwa looked really offended. He was like, why would I drop out? People like me. This man is running as a Republican in New York City, and he's still like, I'm not going to drop out if it helps him. Zoran Mamdani hates Cuomo. He hates that dude so much. Hates him so effectively. Real hate. I've never hated somebody so much. I learned all their stats. Zoran hates Cuomo so much he memorized everything Cuomo ever did wrong and bring it up any chance he get. That's generational hate. I think Andrew Cuomo hates Andrew Cuomo because he running. It's like, why are you putting yourself through this? You know, man. Because then you look at the debates. Okay. This is very important. I gotta go back in the story for a second because Andrew Cuomo wasn't always hated. Even if you hate him right now, think back to a time where you didn't even know who he was. That time he was like beloved. People forget all about it because that's kind of what we do whenever somebody has lost favor in the public eye. A lot of people say they never liked them or that they don't really know why anyone ever liked him. But people loved Cuomo, especially 2019 into 2020. People loved that dude. People loved Cuomo so much. I think that's why people hate him so much now. Because everything he did feels like such a betrayal of their love. You know, people were out here calling themselves Cuomo-sexuals. Look it up. That's a real thing. People loved him so much. And then he got popular around the same time that like zaddy became a term and everything. So he was riding some of that wave and stuff. And you know, there were people, oof. Cuomo couldn't go anywhere without middle-aged women fawning. They were like, oh, he's so handsome. They loved Cuomo. And then COVID came. And for a little while, they loved him even more because New York's numbers during COVID looked really, really bad initially. Obviously, it would. It's an epicenter of travel. People go there from all over the world, and we're also on top of each other all the time, pandemic or no pandemic. But then, we saw these huge numbers that scared everybody, and Cuomo's like, we're going to take this seriously, we're going to lock everything down, and he announced a bunch of policies. As soon as he announced those policies went into effect, and you saw the numbers crater. It was genuinely amazing to watch. It really felt like there was a lot of hope, and everybody was going to live, and this is a long time before the vaccine came out or anything, so it was when people were at peak fear, right? But it was a wild time in New York because we had shut down so effectively that for the first time in New York City, the air was clean. You could take a deep breath. And then later, there was a scandal. Basically, it was exposed that Cuomo was doing some of the same things that Ron DeSantis was accused of doing in Florida, because Florida also had some pretty good numbers during COVID, which is weird because they didn't have any real shutdowns. They didn't have any real mask regulations or anything like that. But then both Cuomo and DeSantis were caught just not reporting or telling people not to report certain numbers. And it turned out that New York was looking really, really good in certain sections of the lockdown, except for nursing homes. And so the thing that's really important about that is that if you see the numbers going down and you've set up a bunch of policies, you'll think, okay, we should just keep doing this, see if the numbers go down further, right? If the numbers go up, you're like, clearly we need to change something. So because we did not have those markers of spikes, we didn't change things. And so there were a lot of seniors that died that didn't need to. They died in nursing homes because of protocols that just didn't have enough evidence around them and weren't the best practices, right? And he was covering it up. Some were saying by 50%, right? And so people started to like him a heck of a lot less. And then at the same time, basically in tandem, he was accused by about 11 women of sexual harassment. Then it was 13. That's stats. Those are numbers. Double digits, you doing it. You are clear. 13 women who don't know each other all got a story about you. That's you. You doing it. All of a sudden, nobody was Cuomo-sexual anymore. And everybody was telling this dude to resign, but he tried to fight it. He was like, I'm gonna fight these allegations. You're gonna see my name's gonna be cleared. And we were like, all right, but even if they clear your name on these sexual harassment allegations, you still did the nursing home thing. And so everybody from Joe Biden to Eric Adams was telling this dude to resign, and he finally resigned 2021, and now he's running for mayor. That's just important to make sure you know, because I've watched people struggle before in a way that was kind of what looked like a bit of a lost cause. I try to be optimistic for people that are in my life, but I'll give you an example. My buddy wanted to enter an arm wrestling contest, and we are built the same. I'm never going to tell anybody not to follow their dream, but I won't let someone sleepwalk off a building. And so I was like, are you sure? Because, you look like a mirror right now, and I'm not entering any arm wrestling. But he's like, no, I want to do it. Been watching online, it's so cool. There's actually a tournament coming up, I want to go. And so, I went with him. We went, and this dude squares up. It was one of those ones where they got the peg on one side, that you grab it, and they got your arm with the pad for your elbow. And sure enough, they went. And as soon as they started, he was over here. And I couldn't believe that this man was actually winning. He was like pushing the arm down, and then he won. I was surprised. You know, like when people got that farmer strength? You don't see any like real definition of muscle. It's all smooth, but they're incredibly strong. I was like, maybe that's him. And then I watched him from round to round. This man got to the semifinals. And at the semifinals, somebody walked up who really did look like a final boss. In my head, I was like, you've done very well for yourself. It's time to pack it up before he take the arm for good. It's gonna pop right out the socket. I'm gonna leave with one. And sure enough, he squared up. And then they told him to go, and he, But this was different. This dude wasn't really moving, but he was really strained, even leaning a bit. And then he started to make noises he hadn't made in the other rounds. Once you scream in an arm wrestling contest, you have lost something. This man, and he's straining, and he's straining, and he's straining till finally he goes, and he won. Now, to be fair, he won because the other guy went, and apparently that is a disqualification. And even when we were in the car ride home, we did have to leave. He didn't get to go to the finals because even when we were in the car, I was over there trying to be optimistic. I was over there like, at least you won. I give you an example of how much Zoran Mamdani hates Andrew Cuomo. In the first debate, right? In the first debate, it was Curtis Sliwa, Zoran Mamdani, and Andrew Cuomo all on stage together. Really, the race is between these two, but every once in a while we throw Curtis a question. And Cuomo's talking. And he goes, look, this is not a job. Being a mayor of one of the richest, biggest cities in the country is not a place for on-the-job experience. You know, this guy's never had a job before, and I don't think he can run the city. He definitely can't run it like I can. I can do a much better job. This is not a job for experience while you're in it. You gotta know, you gotta come with plans of what you're gonna do. And to his credit, Zoran, you know, it's like, I do have plans for what I'm gonna do. I've stated my plans clearly. Your only plan is to attack me. And Cuomo also came at him with a couple of things that are like talking points that a bunch of the candidates have used that they're not really clicking for me, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't have enough Islamophobia to have it register. But one of the things that Cuomo brings up is like, this man still, you know, won't denounce the phrase globalize the Intifada. all right? You know, he's over here lobbing accusations at me. He still won't denounce the phrase globalized antifada. What Andrew Cuomo is referring to, supposedly, is a time where someone else said it and Zoran didn't, I guess, tackle them. This isn't language that he used. It's not something he said. It's something that someone else said that I guess he didn't do enough about in Cuomo's eyes, right? Mamdani responded, well, look, you're talking about things that are from 2020. And since we're talking about things that are from 2020, I don't know why, you know, people would elect a mayor who sent so many seniors to their deaths in nursing homes. You know, what I lack in experience, I make up for in integrity. And for what you lack in integrity, you could never make up for in experience. And I've never watched any debate like a rap battle. I was sitting in front of the computer like, oh! Get him! No, it's wild. Even Curtis Sliwa got in digs on Cuomo. Cuomo was catching it from all angles. Because then, you know, they were talking about the accusations that had been lobbed at Cuomo during his time as governor. And Curtis Sliwa goes, really? You spent all that money defending yourself? Really? All 13 women are lying, Andrew? All 13 women? This man hates Cuomo so much, he is standing up for women as a Republican. This dude hates Cuomo with all his heart. Oh, this dude hates Cuomo so much. And then the second debate was even worse. There was a moment in the second debate where the candidates were allowed to ask each other a question. It was just question and answer. They couldn't go back and forth. You just got a question, you had to answer. And Cuomo went over on Mamdani and he was like, you took a picture with this leader in Uganda. Did you know that this leader is actually someone who denounces all rights for gay people? They've actually worked on making it illegal to be gay in Uganda, and you took a picture with them. And Zoran answered, listen, at the time, I did not know this person's policies. I took a picture with this person. If I had known, I would not have taken that picture, full stop, right? And then it was Zoran's turn. And Zoran asked, he was like, Mr. Cuomo, in 2021, you were credibly accused by 13 women of sexual harassment. And in that time, you spent $20 million of taxpayer funds to defend yourself from all of these women. And you've lobbed, you know, lawsuits, and you've worked with judges for gag orders and everything. You filed defamation suits on all these women. You have actually tried to obtain gynecological medical records of some of these women. Well, one of those women, Charlotte Bennett, is actually here tonight in the audience. And you know, she can't even tell her story or speak for herself because you've lodged a defamation suit against her. But I can speak, so I want to ask on all of their behalfs, what do you say to the 13 women that accused you of sexual harassment? And it's in that moment I realized I wasn't hating to my full potential as a person. You know what I mean? Like, I am a C-tier hater when it comes to this level of hate is unprecedented. I thought Kendrick hated Drake. This is truly wild. Because what can you do if you're Cuomo? I'll tell you what he did. He went, You went to Uganda? Truly, I have not seen a face like that on a person. Like Andrew Cuomo's face when it was happening. I hadn't seen anyone make a face like that since my friend won his arm wrestling contest. I feel like the same thing was happening to Cuomo that happened to my buddy. Zoran is still leading in the polls, you know? And one of the reasons that I think that he's still leading is because some of these efforts to stop Mamdani have only helped him. Only helped him, because billionaires have come out in force against every policy and against Zoran as a candidate. And that says a lot. They're like accidentally making him more popular. You know? President Trump even said that if Zoran wins, he may have to mobilize the National Guard, take over New York City, which would be not just like a spit in the face to an open, free, and fair election, but what messaging does that look like to you? That you might have to send the National Guard and take over a city if the dude who wants free pre-K wins? You know? Like all their efforts, they've spent so much money. Zoran himself has said, y'all are spending way more money on ads trying to campaign against me than I was even gonna tax you. You don't want it that bad, and why don't you want it that bad? That's crazy. There's something happening here, and I think that's why it's got so much tension across the nation. I think that, you know, America's very good at telling a story, and America is a salesman unto itself. It's like a salesman of a dream and of an idea, you know, and people, you know, one of the things that Trump and other people have said about Zoran is that he's a communist. He says he's a socialist, but he's a communist. And maybe that would have worked like 20 years ago. That might have worked. But we are a capitalist country. We all live in capitalism. And it's going poorly enough for enough people that they're willing to try anything. So calling someone a communist, this sort of Russia red, China red scare, it just doesn't hit the same when people are working jobs and still can't afford to feed their families. And then along comes someone with not just a lot of energy, but a lot of hope that says it doesn't have to be this way. Look at what they do over there. If we just did what they do over there, we'd be able to have more things for us, which is our money anyway. A lot of people have this misconception that the money that a corporation makes is all theirs and was all earned. But they got that money from how much they pay their workers, how much they actually provide for their consumers. And you see that when left up to their own devices, they skimp on, let's say it's just food, they skimp on ingredients, they skimp on workers, they skimp on. And then one day when they have $1 billion valuation, we look at them as if to tax them would be taking their $1 billion instead of just taking back what is owed to the people that made them great, you know? And so I think that what is so scary for people about Zoran that really don't like him is that he is a reminder to a lot of people that you are a citizen, you're not a consumer, you are a constituent, you're not a customer. Like the story that gets told now, especially by our politicians, is that if you ask for what is owed to you, what is actually yours, you're asking for a handout. But you already paid for these things, and you pay them. So the idea that these people would all stand together in unison against this person who just wants to make the bus free should tell you something. And all of them stand together against him in the way that they are, with all the money they're throwing at him, and with all the fear-mongering that they're doing. It's having the opposite effect. Because now, to vote for him, even if you don't even like him, you get to stick it to a billionaire, people you already don't like. So what you've accidentally done is made voting for him like kind of cool as well. It would be like if you didn't want someone to date someone else, but the way that you lobbed things at them, the things that you said about them to try to discourage this person from dating this other person, would be like if you sat them down and said, oh, you don't want to get with him. No, his penis too big. He's just... You don't even want those problems. You don't. I don't know if you. don't know if you've been following this, maybe not. I just realized how white this room is. I mean, it's pop culture. You probably heard about it. I mean, I don't know if you've been watching this whole Drake and Kendrick. My. What a time to be alive. Okay. All right, so Drake and Kendrick, they are rappers, sir. They're rappers. Okay, I want to make sure everybody, and I'm not acting like I know. You might bump Kendrick all the time. You might be a big Pimp a Butterfly fan. You know, I'm just checking. So, Drake and Kendrick's relationship actually goes back way further than people realize, because Drake brought Kendrick with him on tour when Kendrick was like just starting to pop, but Drake was already a big deal, right? And it seemed like they were cool. You see these old interviews, they're in pictures together, they have such nice things to say about each other, and then along the line, something changed. Something happened. And we don't know what that thing is really, but they both started to kind of like go at each other in small ways. And some people take it all the way back to the Control verse. Kendrick did a verse in a song on, it was actually a Big Sean song. Big Sean is a rapper, sir. I just want to, all of these are just names, and I want to make sure that we're all up to speed. So he did a verse on a Big Sean song called Control, but it blew up so much it became Kendrick's verse. It became the Control verse, which is crazy. And in that verse, he went at everybody. He called people out by name, you know? And he said, I got love for you all, but I'm trying to murder you. I'm trying to make sure that your fans don't even love you anymore. They love me so much. I'm coming for the crown. I'm coming for everything, right? And just about everybody thought that it was actually pretty dope. It was actually like, okay, hip-hop as a sport. Like hip-hop as, you know, a fun thing, a contest to see who's actually the best. Because everybody calls themselves the best on every song. Eventually, someone has to be the best. You know, every rapper believes that they're the best, and they say so in their music. A lot like how one city will have several First Baptist churches. When you look around, you're like, one of y'all has to actually be first, right? How can y'all even all claim to be first? This is confusing. You know? And so he releases the Control verse. Now, this is something, maybe this is where it started. It's where a lot of people say it started, but maybe it was something else. But Drake seemed to take some sort of issue with the love that Kendrick was getting for that verse, with him being called out, even though he's someone that helped, you know, Kendrick out in the beginning. But even in interviews, Kendrick explained himself. He said, like, this is a contest to see who's the best. It's all love, right? But Drake has, I'm trying to be fair. Drake has a lot of feelings, and you can tell because he has a lot of albums. And there are feelings on every one of those albums. And some people don't have several albums worth of feelings. Some people only have 4 or 5 albums worth of feelings, you know? And some people decide when to let it out, and he just lets it out on a pretty tight schedule, a pretty regimented schedule of release to let out all of his feelings, you know? And he said, he's like, I just didn't like it. It didn't feel sincere. I just didn't vibe with the whole thing, because then I saw him later and he was all nice to me. Yeah. He said in his interview it was all love, it's just a contest. And then from there they had like a weirdness, and then there's like little things. You can listen to certain songs where Drake seems to be like digging right at Kendrick, but in a way where you have to really look at it and wonder, right? Not saying his name. And then Kendrick even does a little bit of the same, but
even after a little bit of this had kicked off, they still worked together one or two more times, right? Because Drake was on Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick's album, and Kendrick was on Take Care. So there's still at least a professional relationship there to some degree, right? Fast forward a few years, and Drake's really big. And when I say really big, he's like what Bad Bunny is now, he was back then, like top in the world, right? Everybody wanted to be Drake. Everybody wanted to sing a little bit of Drake. He was #1 on Spotify. Every time he released, it was a big deal. And so some people, admittedly, were very jealous of Drake. You know, there were people who started to go at Drake a little bit. And Drake is a good writer. He may have writers that he works with. He may have... But he's also good. It's like when he's making music, everyone in the room is good. That's... I'm trying to give him his I'm trying to be objective, and y'all are trying to lean me into way that's... But he's good, and so, you know, Meek Mill is a rapper. Sorry, Meek Mill. Because that one wasn't a name. I just want to make sure that at no point you don't think that this is like punctuation or anything, because the names are going to get weirder as I go, right? Okay. Meek Mill came at Drake, and Drake really, truly, even if you hate Drake, Drake destroyed Meek Mill. He destroyed Meek Mill so bad that Meek Mill had to go back to jail just to level out some of that street cred. Because if you remember, Meek Mill went back to jail for a while on like this weird aspect of probation that they even tried to get changed as a law. So then Meek Mill became this like face of changing incarceration and changing the criminal justice system, everything, because he had to do something else for a little while because Drake really ate him up. All right. And so more time passes, and there's still not much between Kendrick and Drake in this moment, right? And then Drake gets into it, and I want to be clear, because a lot of people sometimes feel bad for Drake in a way that I want to be clear. He does start a lot of this stuff. He does like have a little thing in a song that implies that your wife is unfaithful, and then when you come at him directly, he's like, what's with all the hate? I'm all love. It's like, no. The best way I can describe it is that Drake kind of fights like a cat. And some rappers fight like dogs. And so, you know, he'll do a little paw and he'll be like, what's the issue? And so Drake went at Pusha T, which was a true mistake. This is the thing about people like Pusha T, right? You don't want to mess with anyone who's actually had a hard life. You know, like, Drake grew up in Canada, grew up with, like, it's just, this is my thing. A lot of people come at Drake for, you know, they come in a way I don't like. They come at him in this like colorism way where he's like, you're not really black because you're half white. I don't roll with any of that. I just truly think, but you see what I'm talking about. I'm not, y'all are trying to get me to do something I'm not doing. I'm just saying it's very hard for a rapper to seem hard, right? When they have not been through what other rappers have been through. Like, it's hard to go hard when everybody knows you had health care. Because I'm not saying there aren't hardened criminals in Canada. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that if somebody knows that anytime you were sick, you could call a doctor. It just takes a little bit of the wind out of the sails of like, I'll kill you. It's like, yeah, but if I hurt you, you go to a doctor immediately. Like, so anyway, Kendrick is still off doing his thing, releasing amazing music, but Drake gets into it with Pusha T, which was a mistake because he told Pusha T, he's like, I got more money than you, I got more women than you, I'm more famous than you'll ever be. And then Pusha T said, you have a son. He released the fact that Drake had a son, which people didn't know, on a track that's cover was Drake in blackface. Everything about what Pusha T did to Drake is why you don't get involved with people like Pusha T. You're you know, a part of me felt bad for Drake. Drake was probably like John at the mouth and everything and didn't know he'd do research. It's like, you know, Drake is sitting there like, guys, I thought we were rhyming. I thought we were making music. What is this? And so anyway, now Drake perceivably takes care of his son. And, you know, whatever. And so fast forward some more, and you would think that Drake had sort of learned his lesson of like, man, I shouldn't throw stones when I might have a lot of kids. And for his part, I will say this, for his part, every time somebody comes at Drake, he does come at them pretty hard, pretty heavy. And he does release music that his fans love, and there are a lot of his fans. I'm saying that's something that I thought about going into this thing, where I was like, he always does really try to like give you something, but what he gives is twofold. Drake is usually trying to give you that sort of earworm, trying to give you that thing that takes you to a place beyond the beef. So now people will still play back to back and songs that were responses to beefs he's had in the past, just as songs to enjoy, you know? And so this year, Drake and J. Cole started, you know, they started doing appearances together. Like J. Cole would pop up at Drake's concert. And J. Cole is also someone who I genuinely believe is one of the most talented, phenomenal, musically inclined artists that I've encountered. I really enjoy his music. I don't know him as a person, and I think he's amazing, right? So he is on a couple of Drake songs after they appeared together last year, and it made me listen to those songs. I was like, oh, J. Cole, okay, you know, because I admittedly I hadn't listened to Drake in a long time because I only have a certain amount of feelings. I feel like I got pretty far. I feel like I listened to several albums, and then at a certain point, I was like, I feel grown. Like, you know? And anyway, they do a song together, and then they do a song called First Person Shooter. And in First Person Shooter, they're going back and forth about how great the era is and how great they are. And First Person Shooter is a fantastic song, right? And then J. Cole in the song says, you'll forgive me if I'm getting it wrong, but he says, maybe something like we're the top top two, three, okay. And then he was like, is it Kendrick, is it Aubrey, or me? Because we're the big three, like we started the league, but right now I feel like Muhammad Ali, right? And I guess Kendrick heard that and took it as a personal affront. I wouldn't have felt that. Like if two people were like, man, we're the best ever, and Josh is great too, and I wasn't even there, I would be like, oh, thanks. But I'm not built like Kendrick. You know? And so then later we would also find out that apparently Drake tried to get Kendrick on that track. So he knew it was coming up and he didn't want any part of it. And then I guess he hated that he was mentioned. So then Metro Boomin and Future are rappers that, because that could have been a label name. I'm not making fun of you at all. I'm just making sure everybody is up to speed and you're right in front of me. That's all that's happening, right? So Metro Boomin and Future, they release an album called We Don't Trust You, and on it is a track called Like That. Now, Like That is where Kendrick does essentially the control effect on this song. He does a verse that really made me forget it was a song. I don't know what anyone else said on the song, right? And on the song, he says, "Fuck the big three, it's just big me," right? Which is also, hey, I've always said I want to be the best. I've said it from day one. As soon as people started interviewing me, I said I want to be the best. As soon as people started listening to my music, I said I wanted to be the best. This is not out of character for me. This is the same thing I did 10 years ago, right? So just for me, if it were me, if I was one of them, if I was Drake and I heard "Fuck the big three, it's just big me," I also wouldn't take it as a personal affront. Because there were other things in the song where he came at Drake specifically. He didn't really have much for J. Cole. And yeah, it just sat for a while. It sat, and everybody was like, ooh, what are Drake and Cole gonna do? And then Cole was actually, I think, the first one to release. He released this song that he's since taken down called 7 Minute Drill, and he went at Kendrick in the song. And then he took it down, and a lot of people clowned him for it, but it's something that even, I'm not being a revisionist here. I said this when it happened. I was like, I respect the fact that he took it down, because it's not something he really wanted to do. And the internet is all gas, no brakes. The internet will get you to mess up your life. Do you know what I mean? People you don't know are like, I wouldn't take that if I was you. What you gonna do? Huh? Do something, huh? Huh? People who are very safe at home, I wouldn't, if I was you, ooh, I'd go at his neck. I'd eat him alive if I was you. Do something, Jermaine, do it. And so he took it down, and he even said, he's like, I didn't feel like doing it, so it's not even good. I kind of just went at him a little bit, and it's true. In the song, he doesn't even say anything that bad. He's just like, one of your albums was boring. I won't even say which one. And then he took it down because he said, I don't know, this felt corny. And I respected the hell out of that. Very few men, grown men, famous men, powerful men, very few ever apologize. Very few ever apologize without being made to, with the threat of losing their money, losing their fame, losing something. Very few men. So I respect that, and people clowned him to no end. But then the actual beef between Drake and Kendrick started, and that was a lot. Because Drake released a song called Push Ups, and he didn't just go at Kendrick, he went at a bunch of people and, implied that Kendrick's wife was unfaithful, that his son might not be his and everything. And people are like, ooh, what's Kendrick gonna do? What's gonna happen, right? And then, he releases another song, and this song is AI. This song is Drake with the late Tupac and Snoop Dogg, and it's going at Kendrick. And some people had their feelings about that. But then, oof, on a random morning, I was, it was right about the time I was supposed to say my prayers anyway. Your morning prayers? Your thank your God for waking me up this morning, right? And Kendrick dropped a song called Euphoria. And I think when it happened, a lot of people, including me, was like, oh, this is an actual rap beef now in the way that we had in the 90s. These dudes do not like each other. And Kendrick says he hates them in the song. He says, I hate you. He said it a lot. He said, I hate you a lot. He did artistically, but he was like, ooh, I hate you. Ooh, I hate you. Ooh, right? And, woof. It was a lot, right? And then And then, Drake released, actually, no, Kendrick released one. He released so many, I actually lost count. So then he released a song that I didn't even get to fully digest because he released, and then Drake released his response. And this was like what Drake had been waiting for. This was like all these, in my opinion, all these years of like, I was nice to you, and then you came at everybody, including me, and all I'm doing is writing my feelings down in albums and making money. And I just want to be number one. I just want to be the best with feelings. I want to be the best. And so he just took everything that he had, and he put it in a song called Family Matters, right? And 20 minutes later, Kendrick released a song called Meet the Grams, which was a real play off Family Matters. And he had said in 616 before, he was like, have you ever thought about the fact that like people in your camp are working for me, that everyone hates you so much they feed me information about you, and that there's no way that you're going to win this because I write so many songs, because all I do is hang out with my wife and my kids and I write, right? This is all that I do. I enjoy this. This is my favorite thing to do, is just sit at home and hate you and write songs about you and how much I hate you, so I can go forever. This will never be over. We can chill. We can just go back and forth, and I'll release 20 for every one that you release. You keep saying that it's a 1v20, and it is. It's one of you, and it's 20 songs of me every single day until the both of us die. This is old black man hate. You got to understand. This doesn't happen. This doesn't happen with people under 60 almost ever. This is old. This is old. We knew each other during the civil rights movement hate that he brought to this battle. And Drake was like, guys, I thought we were rhyming. And in Meet the Grams, he laid it down. He started the song by talking to Drake's son. Talking to Drake's son, being like, I'm sorry that's your father. Genuinely, I'm sorry that's your father, because I can tell he's not raising you well, because I can tell he's not living a good life and he's not a decent man, okay? And so if you don't understand this right now because you're 6, play it back when you're 18, okay? He said lots of things. He said things that are illegal. He said Drake was doing things that, you can listen to it. Woof. He even had this effect in the song. At the end of the song, when he's like, you lie, he called him a liar several times, and he's like, you lied. I was like, oh, that's too much. And he tells him about himself. He talks to his son, he talks to his dad, he talks to his mom, and then he talks to him directly, right? He also talks to, potentially, a daughter that Drake is not taking care of. Which I was listening to, I was like, not again. I feel like once they find the first kid, you gotta just get all the kids. You gotta just have a whole Graham family, just so you know where everybody is. And people go back and forth. Does he have a daughter? Does he not have a daughter? Some people think they've even found the daughter, everything like that. And I don't know. It's really bad. It's so bad. And honestly, I never wanted it to get to a bad place. This is something, I'll talk about this more in the future and everything, but I have a deep love, but a strange relationship with hip hop, because if everything is in music, it's all good. It's when things leave music that things get bad, And so as much as I joke about Drake and I like Kendrick and I've liked some of Drake's songs, I don't actually want them to do anything to each other. You know what I mean? Now, if what Kendrick is saying about Drake is true, we should lock Drake up. We should lock Drake up. And if what Drake is saying about Kendrick is true, we should lock Kendrick up, all right? Because, it's a rap battle, two dudes that hate each other. Maybe they're lying, who knows? But I'm just saying, this thing, I didn't want to see anything bad happen to either one of them. But when Meet the Grams got released, I don't know what Drake thinks, and I don't know what his life is like, especially right now. But I think back to those battles and those beefs in the 90s, and I wonder if Drake wasn't like, I'd like to be shot, please. Like if you could just plug me one time and then we can smooth the thing over. Because then, as if Meet the Grahams wasn't enough, Kendrick released a song called Not Like Us, which is the catchiest way to call somebody a I've ever heard in my life. You be dancing to it forgetting what the song is about. Like, you know. And then Drake released The Heart Part 6. And I think that's when he lost. I think. Because in The Heart Part 6, he's like, this was all part of my plan. We fed you information about me for you to say, so everything that you said is wrong. And don't you feel dumb now that I tricked you? And it just kind of felt like, you know like what a kid, okay, you know like when you play rock, paper, scissors, and you do rock, and the other kid does scissors, and they're like, no, actually, these are lasers. Ba-pow, 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 ba-pow. Because I was like, Drake, if it was part of your plan to feed Kendrick information about you for him to rap about very well, by the way, like even if those are lies, they do sound good and they sound very true. Even if you fed him all this information about you to rap about to then look dumb when it was wrong, why'd you send him that stuff? That's the worst stuff you could send somebody. Hey, tell him this thing about me that's not true but was true once, and tell him I'm a thing that no one wants to be. So now that it's over, because I do hope it's over, I feel like Drake should just release some songs about some feelings.
When I can